Welcome to Being Patient Live Talks. I'm Mark New, a reporter at Being Patient. Today we have a guest who is a coach, trainer, speaker, and podcaster. And if you're wondering how that fits in with Being Patient's mission, well, Simone Morse is also an author who has written a book with her daughter, Millie Walton, who is also fortunately joining us too. They've written a children's book that is based on their own journey. Simone and Millie, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having us, Mark.
Tell us a little about your background and why you decided to write this book.
Yeah, my background is in HR consulting, primarily around creating an inclusive workplace. And the timing of the book and the message really has to do with my personal life and going on the journey, the dementia journey with my mom.
And to summarize your book, a family has Grammy P over and they are having a game night. And then suddenly Millie starts to realize that things aren't right. Tell us what was going on there, Millie.
Um, so since I'm 9, this was 4 years ago, and we were typically having her over, like sometimes we used to, and then it was just a regular day. I came back from school, and we went home, and then we just had dinner like regularly, but something was off. Like she forgot the rules and she was taking small bites out of her food, and she was just like not acting like she would usually do. And my dad told her the rules a couple times, but she just wouldn't understand. So then I just thought something was off with her. So
And you got frustrated, obviously frustrated, not understanding. And this was a sort of a turning point moment for you, Simone, to have a conversation, how to explain things to her, right?
Yeah, we had been on the journey and not realizing the impact to our daughter. So we really did, we kept it adult conversation and we talked about it amongst ourselves and didn't include her in the conversation. But the situation, the journey necessitated really bringing her into the conversation and naming the word. I think we had some difficulty saying dementia because it made it real, and having a conversation with her about what is dementia? What does it mean?
And that's, to make a book out of it, though, to come together with your daughter, that decision, based on the fact that, you really want to have a child's perspective too, right? Because you want families to be able to bring all generations into this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think it's very necessary in that even though it's a tough space to be, Millie was around her grandmother. She did take the journey, so she saw the changes. She had to experience it. And this project was a love project. We took the journey as a family. Millie worked with the illustrator in Haiti, and we slowed down the timeline of releasing the book because it became less important about delivering the book and more important about experiencing the journey and adding messages that could help other families in the book.
Mhm. And Millie, and I'll ask the same question to you, Simone, but through this journey of writing the book, how do you think your relationship with your grandmother changed or was affected by having to write her and your story?
Go ahead,
Millie.
Millie.
um well, having me writing another story with my mom was great, but writing it about my grandmother was even more because it makes me reminded of her whenever I see the book. And like all my friends at school were like, "How did you write a book?" So just like writing a book about my grandmother was amazing.
Do you think it's a way to honor her too?
Yeah, definitely. Like whenever I think of her, I always know that we have a book about her that we can just look up to, and that's how we can remember her. So yeah, definitely.
And Simone, your own relationship, how it's, changed writing the book?
Yeah, I was very close with my mom. It was a devastating loss, and she passed on in February, and we got to show her the book. So the book was released the day before she died. So we actually got to show her the book and tell her about the book and take a photo of her with the book. And it felt like, we experienced some delays, and it felt like she was giving us her blessing, and it released the day before she died.
And what do you hope people or families or children will take away from this book?
I hope that families will know that it's okay to have conversations about the topic at a family level, and know that they don't have to have all the answers, by just acknowledging that dementia exists and is impacting their families, and listening to the child and answering questions about what's happening. I hope it's a discussion starter for families.
Okay. And what do you think, people should know about, the care and education needs of Black and often other marginalized communities? Your thoughts on that?
Well, I didn't really know where to turn for support, and it was a very emotional journey. So I would say to tap into the Alzheimer's Association as a resource and look for groups. I got on a Facebook group about caregiving and dementia to answer a lot of questions for me. I had to come off because some of it was too much for me, but at a time it really worked for me. I will say, culturally speaking, my biggest frustration was more at the hospital and advocating for my mom. There, I felt like there was a lack of empathy for dementia. Whenever we entered the hospital scenario, I would mention it like, the conversations were happening, and there wasn't cognitive awareness, and I appreciate and respect that, but I just felt like there could be more empathy from a dementia standpoint.
All right. And what about within Black and minority communities? Do you find that there's a certain stigma that around the disease, and part of your book is also fostering conversations? Your thoughts on whether there's a stigma that exists?
I do think that there's a stigma with talking about it and naming it and being private about what's happening to your loved one. So I went through a myriad of emotions in deciding to be very vulnerable and transparent and raw about my mom's story, and what would other people think, and what would family members think, and then decided that something was calling me to share this real life story, and also be heartened by this could help another family or families.
Mhm. Millie, have you talked with your classmates about some of these issues, and have you found that there are others that have had to gone through things like this?
Well, I mean, I've talked with it about my classmates like last year when it came out in third grade, that I would like tell people that I wrote a book. But in fourth grade now, I think that when I like share the same, I don't think I share it with as much people in my class. Like some of them don't have a good memory, but I don't think I share that much with my class about that. But I do tell them the story about what happened, and tell them that's nothing to joke about. But also, I don't think anyone in my class has any family members experiencing that. But I could be wrong. So
I think in third grade, you had a classmate who had a similar experience, because I remember the mom getting the book and telling us how helpful it was to their family. But now in fourth grade, we're, in a different scenario, and we're not up close to it again. But definitely third grade, the latter part of third grade, we had families who were impacted that gave us some feedback about the book.
And your book actually has activities within it designed to sort of, initiate or foster conversations. Tell me about the decision to include that as activities in there.
Yeah, we worked with an editor, and she made the book a lot better. She challenged us to come up with some ideas. So there's a puzzle, there's some fill in the blank, and also on the website you can download a discussion guide to have a conversation about dementia.
and there's a word search.
There's a word search. You can show them the word search. There are additional resources in there. We're just excited about the possibilities of what this could be, and actually working on a companion workbook to give even more activities, because I think that the loved one is there, and as they go through the stages of dementia, the child doesn't know how to communicate. And so I want to create a resource where there's a section for the child, there's a section for the adult, and there's a section for your loved one that's going through dementia in terms of activities. So I want to make it more robust. So there is a part 2 coming with the book.
That's right, because it's, thought of as a children's book. It's got illustrations, but it's not just for children, right?
That's right. That's right. It's for, I see it as more for families, that it is a family, something you can discuss over dinner, or, have it around your loved one and share. Yeah.
Is it, has it been in any schools yet? Are you trying to get into schools? What's the plan for the book?
Yeah, we would love to get it into schools to have conversations. So we're starting to have some conversations about it. We've been on a television interview to talk about the book. The book has been translated into Spanish. And so, it has a life of its own, and I think it's going to go very far. And we haven't been in the schools yet, but there are talks and plans to do so.
And what would you, through your caregiving advice, what are some things that you might offer to our audience members who are going through similar things? Anything stand out that was helpful in your journey?
Well, I love the name of the show, Being Patient. And, it has a double meaning, because really being patient with yourself. I had high expectations on how mature I would be during this journey, and it was really outside of my comfort zone. I am very driven, results oriented, and there were lots of things that were happening that were new to me, outside of my comfort zone. So I would say to be patient with yourself, and to give yourself grace for the journey that you're on. Not only is your loved one on a journey, but you are also on a journey to get support. I believe in mental health support. And that was a great support for me on this journey, because there was a lot of emotions and feelings to process on the journey. And, tap into communities that can be supportive for you. I found out about the Alzheimer's Association, but I didn't use it as much as I could. I didn't realize that it was a 24/7 service, and so I could tap into it a bit more. So there were points where I was just, just kind of struggling and just making it through. But looking back, tapping into support, family, friends, talking about it, because for a long time I didn't talk about it, because I was taught not to talk about these big things. I didn't talk about it. And now I'm talking about it more. And it's amazing to me when I talk about it, someone will say, I'm going through that right now. So modeling the vulnerability opens the door for other people to say, yeah, me too. And let's talk about it and help one another.
And in your mother's case, what I read, at least in the book, at the point that she was being cared for at home, and at some point you need 24/7 care. Tell me about that. And it's not an easy thing to have them in your home and have the financial ability and the emotional strength to have them necessarily straight at your home.
It was a journey. We didn't start out with 24/7 care. We started out with like 9 to 4. We started realizing that we didn't have the skills and also the capacity or bandwidth to do this, because it could be a full-time job. Do you want to say something, honey?
Sometimes, like, since we would see them all the time when we went through, they became more like family recently. Like, one of the eights, Jennifer, she became like family, and Claudette. They just all became family because they were so close and so nice.
Yeah. Yeah, you do get very close with them, because they have to be a integral part of the plan for care. And my mom didn't want to be in a nursing home. She said that to me when she was, she was able to say that. And I wanted to honor that promise. And I feel really good about honoring that promise, which meant really changing the scenario. So she did have 24/7 care. So that means that there was always someone in the home with her, even when family couldn't get there. But like Millie is saying, those caregivers became family, and we're still connected, even after my mom's passing.
Mhm. And Millie, tell me, did you, with your grandmother, did you, you notice the changes, and then the way you interacted with her obviously changed over the years. What are there specific moments that you remember and um, that stand out in you in being able to interact and communicate with her?
Yeah, because when I was younger, like 5 years ago when I was 4 or 5, and still last year, like she would ask me before she couldn't talk, she would ask me what would I like, and because she didn't know what more of the recent stuff was, she would always give me clothes, and I would always love to wear them to honor her, and like yeah, and it would always be nice because my mom still teaches me lessons that my mom she would teach her mom would teach her, and just like being a part of her, and like she would always give me gifts, and just like talking to her about stuff, like it's like the person I could talk to other than my parents. Like I would always like to talk to her whenever I was there, but throughout the years she stopped talking and it was harder to communicate with her, so that's why when I would go over to her house I wouldn't be frequently reacting with her as much as I used to, because I wouldn't talk to her and she would just watch TV. So
And I saw that some of your drawings are in the book. Is that correct? Which drawings of your grandmother are in the book?
so I have I when I, well I think this is so I love to draw. Like one of my favorite subjects is art, so I'm always passionate about that. But so I was just random doodling sometimes, and then we put them in. Some of these are artwork from school. Some of these are artwork that I just did at home for fun, and some of these had a purpose. Like um, the the one of the pages that I go to the playground. That one was from when I was second grade, and we had portrait making to do. So some of these have meanings, and some of them don't. And some of them are from school, and some of them like one of them I drew on my computer, so and some of them I just drew in real life.
So were you able to show Grammy P your drawings?
Um, like a few of them, but like not all of them because some of them were made in school, so I didn't show her them, and they were just kept at home and framed. So,
Okay. And what's next for both of you? More books? Tell me about your next steps.
so I think that our next step will be to write a summer camp book about, or just to write, like she's always writing books, so I don't know what her next step will be, but I know that we might write a new children's book, or we might not, but we're definitely gonna write more. Maybe this year, or maybe next year, but probably next year and this year. So,
And Simone, for you?
So we have begun to do an audiobook for this. So Millie's actually been in the studio. We're recording a audiobook for Remember Me Grammy P. So that is coming in the future. And Millie is correct. We plan to write a book about summer camp and the experiences of being the only one from a marginalized community standpoint. So there is a opportunity for more diverse books, and I have a feeling you will see us a lot more books from us.
Okay. Finally, a last question I just want to ask. Is there a memory or experience with Grammy P that really helped shape your book?
Yeah,
yeah.
go ahead, Millie.
So what she was trying to say is that, like, I feel like it was like when I was like coming out of school one day, it was the normal thing to go to the playground because I would always love going to the playground behind the mall. But then one day, just like we went home and I was so excited to see her, and it was a Trouble game because that's our favorite family board game. And
Yeah.
we just it was just hard for me to learn that she had dementia that day because I was scared. I didn't know what to do. And that she was like going through that, and I just thought that she was just needed help, but I didn't know what to do, Mom.
Yeah. So the trouble game is really that critical moment because it was over dinner. We spent a lot of time with my mom. She would come and stay the weekends with us, and we love to play games over dinner.
But
And
she doesn't believe in that because she
she-
thinks that half my family thinks that you need to have it after dinner, but we have a different thing.
Right. So we were playing trouble, and so that's a critical moment. But I when I think about it, Mark, a memory for me is us celebrating my mom's last birthday and family gathered around her, and really she wasn't communicating a lot, and she would look at me with a puzzled look, and I was thinking she doesn't remember who I am. And Millie was concerned that my mom would forget who she was, and I remember she looked at her and called her over. Remember, Mill?
Yeah.
Eh,
And like my little cousin was like, "Oh my gosh," and then she called both of us over and just wanted to give me a hug. But I know she didn't forget you because she remembered all of us. It was just forgetting how to move and like stuff, but she always remembered us, and like she would always think that I'm her favorite grandchild. So
All right. Well, Simone and Millie, thank you for being on our show to share your story. I'm sure it will resonate with so much of our audience and play a positive role in fostering, conversations within families, ones that can be really difficult to initiate. Also, thanks to our community for tuning in. Don't forget to sign up for our newsletter on beingpatient.com, where we'll keep you up to date on all the upcoming talks. See you next time.
bye.
Thank you.